Why is it so easy to create some habits and so tough to create others? The advice out there, and I've spewed this advice before, is an incomplete understanding of how habit building actually works. So the advice is you pick a behavior you want to engage in, that you want to turn into a habit, and if you do it consistently and over a certain amount of time, it'll become a habit. And commonly what you'll hear is 21 days. It takes 21 days to build a habit. So practice karate every day for 21 days, boom. You've got a habit now. And okay, this sounds great. And sometimes it actually works. So we think, okay, consistency and time, that must be it. That must be the magic formula. But then sometimes it doesn't work. Often it doesn't work. We start going to the gym after New Year's because we have our resolution and we go for 21 days. So we've built our habit, or we should have, right? But then something happens. We stop going. But then contrast this with other things like social media, going on our phone, going on Netflix, playing video games, online shopping, gambling, porn, drinking, smoking weed, any of these things, we create those habits very, very quickly. Going on your phone, checking your notifications, super easy, right? You built that habit in no time. But drinking water, if you're used to pop or juice or whatever, really tough. So this understanding of building a habit is incomplete, right? If it just takes consistency and time, or then discipline, which is what you'll often hear. You know, if you haven't made it a habit in 21 days, well, maybe you need more time. Maybe it's a tougher habit to build, so you need more time. So you do it for longer, right? You do it for 30 days or 40, but you still then fail. You still haven't turned it into a habit. In that case, what you're going to hear online and from people around you perhaps is, you're not disciplined enough. You lack discipline. You're not tough enough. You're not strong enough. You lack willpower. There's something wrong with you. You screwed up. It just takes consistency and time and discipline. And if you can't do it, if you haven't created a habit, you're the failure. Now I want you to think about teaching a dog how to sit. So you get the dog to sit and then you give it a treat. This works really, really well. Over time, the dog associates sitting with getting a reward. So what happens is the dog likes the feeling of getting the reward. The treat is tasty, and when it eats something tasty, it gets a little hit of dopamine in its little doggy brain. So it sits. The owner says sit, the dog knows, oh, it anticipates that release of dopamine via the treat, so it sits. And it gets the reward, and that feels really good. So the dog starts craving that feeling. We're driven by dopamine, and it's really, really easy to create a habit when we get that dopamine hit. So that's why going on your phone, going online, playing video games, reading trashy novels, right? Watching Netflix, buying shit online that we don't need, all of that stuff is super addictive, super easy to create a habit out of because we get dopamine from it. So for example, I get a ding on my phone. Oh, I have a message in Messenger. I open up Messenger. Oh, someone sent me a meme. Ha ha ha, it's really funny. I enjoyed that experience. I get dopamine because it was an enjoyable experience, right? Close the app, put my phone down, get another ding. My brain goes, oh wait, that felt good when I opened up that app. I'm gonna do it again. And then what happens is every time you get that ding, that notification on your phone, you get this anticipatory little hit of dopamine. You're anticipating this bigger hit of dopamine when you get that, when you open up the app, when you see the meme, when you watch the funny video or whatever it is. You want to create a habit out of something like drinking water though, it's tougher. Water's a basic need. We need water, but think about this. You go into the grocery store, go to the beverage aisle, think about all the drinks there, all the possibilities, most of which are not water. There are food scientists whose only job is to make a certain drink taste better so that consumers want to buy more of it. That's what they do, okay? Food science is fascinating, but it's all about dopamine, right? Those sugary drinks taste good, we get more dopamine, so we buy that. They get a lot of money from us. We don't drink water. We need water. That's all we really need. We don't need that shit, right? But that stuff's tasty and we get that rush from it. I think the only time that we actually really get that dopamine hit from water is if we really, really want water. Like if we like water, we enjoy drinking it, and then we get that hit of dopamine because it's pleasurable for us. Or if we're really, really thirsty, you know how that feels when you're super thirsty, and then you finally get some water. It's like, oh my God, this is amazing, right? But if you're not into water, if you're used to drinking all this other stuff, it's not as pleasurable. You're not going to get that dopamine hit that you do from sugary drinks, pop, juice, etc. So you've been trying to build a water drinking habit and you've been going with this traditional advice, which is consistency and time. You've been doing it for 21 days. You still haven't built that habit, right? So what's missing is the dopamine. What's missing is that pleasurable experience that solidifies it in our brain, that this is something I want to do because it feels good, like that dog wanting to sit for the treat. You don't lack discipline if you can't make it a habit. You lack that dopamine release. That's what it's about. So I read this awesome book learning about all this stuff. It's called Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg. I'll put a link in the description below. I highly recommend this book. It's super good. So he talks about how to build habits, and the way that he says to do this is really, really interesting. And I've been trying this and it works really, really well. So here's the formula. You take something that you want to turn into a habit. So let's say drinking water, and you break it down into something really small, really shrimpy action like I talk about. Make it really, really small so that you don't fail. This is key, right? It has to be really, really small so that it's super, super easy to do. We don't want any failure here. And then you take that habit and you tie it to another habit you already have. So let's say it's, every morning you have a cup of coffee. That's a habit for you. You can tie water drinking to that habit. Like every time you've finished your cup of coffee, you will have a sip of water, really, really small, one sip. And then here's the most important part. You're going to celebrate. That's what gets you that dopamine. So at first, when you do this, when I did this, it felt really, really stupid. Okay. So what I did is I had slacked off with drinking water, and I don't drink much else during the day. I have a bit of coffee in the morning, but it's mostly water. But for whatever reason, I hadn't been drinking enough for a while. And so I tried different things. I tried an app on my phone, to remind me to drink water. And after a while, I realized I'm just drinking water to go on my phone to say, yeah, I drank the water, and get that, pleasure from going on my phone. So now I've created a habit of going on my phone more often. And I'm drinking water just to go on my phone more often, or it's tied to going on my phone more often, which I don't want. So I stopped doing that, but this works way better. So I slacked off. So I started celebrating, and your celebration can be anything. For me, it's like I put my fist in the air and I go, yes. Feels really stupid. Okay, it feels really stupid at first. You can do whatever you want. The most important thing though is it has to be big. It has to be real. It can't be, oh yeah, good for me. You have to really mean it. Okay, so fake it until it's real. This is what I did. So the first few times feel really weird, and after a while it feels really good because you're getting that dopamine. So what I would do is whenever I go into my kitchen, I always have a glass of water on my counter. So I walk into the kitchen, see the glass, that's my trigger. I will have a sip of water. When I have the sip of water, I do my yes, my celebration. After a while, what happens, and I could see this happening, I didn't start craving the water. I started craving the celebration. I wanted that yes, that little rush that I felt, that little giddy. I would smile every time I did this stupid little thing. Yes, it makes me smile. It's fun. And that's what I craved. And so I kept going in to the kitchen to have more water to get that yes. And here's the thing with the celebration, you could do it 3 different times. You can do it right after you're done. You can do it while you're doing the habit. So while I'm drinking, that might be a little bit hard, but some actions, some habits that you want to build, you can, celebrate during, and it's easier. Or as soon as you remember to engage in that action. So as soon as I remember to drink water, I can celebrate then. So I see the water, yes. Or while I'm drinking the water, glug, 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 yes. Or after I have my drink, yes. Okay. So that's how you tie it in, and you get that dopamine connected to that action. Okay, so this worked really well. I also did this, I've done this with various other things, and honestly, this is brilliant. So it's so simple, but it really is effective. And I'm getting results that I never got from consistency in time, from just doing it consistently for a period of time. I never got that result. So another one, I have a chin-up / pull-up bar in my office doorway. So it's one of these ones you hang on the door, and I wanted to build a habit of doing chin-ups and pull-ups every day. So I started using this tiny habits method of celebrating. So every time I walk through the door, whether it's into my office or out of my office, I started off with chin-ups because they're easier than pull-ups. I wanted to make it as fail-proof as possible. So I have to do one chin-up and then I celebrate. Yes. I found some days, like there was one day I remember I had a lot of work to do in my office, but it felt so good to do that little yes that I kept going back and doing chin-ups and pull-ups just so I could celebrate. So this is like habit building in action. This is dopamine release. This is really, really effective stuff. And what you'll find, and what I've been finding, is that I start seeking more opportunities to celebrate. So I start thinking, okay, what else can I turn into a habit so that I can celebrate? Because now I want that dopamine from celebrating because it feels so good. And you'll find that it becomes easier and easier to build habits throughout your day. Like I'm in the kitchen, I drink my water. Yes, I celebrate. Maybe the next thing I want to tie to every time I drink water, I clean the counter, and then I celebrate again. And then when I've done that, okay, I can add something else. Maybe I, empty the dishwasher and then I celebrate. Or, start with small, like empty, take one dish out of the dishwasher and put it away and then celebrate. But you'll find that you start wanting to do more and more and more of these things that were maybe a big struggle for you before because of that dopamine, because celebrating feels really, really good. And that's the key takeaway of this book. If you're only going to take one thing away from Tiny Habits by BJ Fogg, it's that people change best and learn best by feeling good. And I think a lot of the advice out there, when it focuses on discipline and being tough and suck it up and, you just have to be stronger, and this sort of warrior idea around martial arts that, warriors can't have fun. It's not about having fun. It's not about pleasure. It's about being tough and being able to withstand pain. The science actually says otherwise. The science says we feel good, we change faster, we learn faster, we build habits much more quickly. So why not use that to our advantage? When we feel good when we're doing something, we're more likely to do it again and again and again. What BJ Fogg has found in his research is that people can develop habits by doing this very, very quickly. You can develop a habit out of an action within as little as one repetition. You do it once, celebrate big enough, intensely enough, that can become a habit like that. Yes.